our webinar series Listen to Legends exclusively for pharmacy students from IPASF in collaboration with PharmaCat. This is Likita Tadituri, Joint Secretary IPASF, and I'm here today on behalf of our forum as the moderator for our today's session, How to Effectively Build a Curriculum Vitae by Dr. Rao Vadlamudi. I would like to inform you all that we are extremely happy with your overwhelming response on webinar series, which was a great piece of encouragement for us. We heartfully thank our mentors Dr. T.V. Narayana, President IPA, and Dr. S. Vidyadhara, Chairperson IPA Education Division, for guiding us, and sincerely thank PharmaCat for coming forward and supporting us. I would like to take this privilege of introducing PharmaCat to you all. PharmaCat is an integrated organization to guide the students of pharmacy across our country, which is now available on digital platform. You can download the application from Google Play Store. They provide services like video lectures, both live and recorded for GPAT, NIPER, BITS, and other entrance exams, as well as for semester exams as per PCI syllabus. They also conduct live career counseling sessions for pharmacy students and also test series. They provide study materials for GPAT and semester exams and also information regarding job vacancies and assistance in placements. They conduct webinars and counseling sessions for higher education abroad. The main reason for us to collab with PharmaCat is that they are providing so many useful services which will be of great help to our budding pharmacists. So, as a students forum, it's our responsibility to expose such important and helpful resources which can play a major role in building up your career. So hoping you all will consider these and download the app PharmaCat from Play Store. Now I would like to take this honor of introducing our today's eminent speaker, Dr. Rao Vadlamudi. We are privileged to have you here, sir. Welcome. Dr. Rao Vadlamudi is a pharmaceutical professional with 34 years of experience working for various academic institutions, multinational companies, and Indian pharmaceutical companies. He is an active member of the Indian Pharmaceutical Association and is the immediate past president of the association. Dr. Rao is also the president of Commonwealth Pharmacists Association for the term of 2017 to 19. Dr. Rao Vadlamudi completed his B.Pharm in 1973, followed by M.Pharm in 1976 at Andhra University, Visakhapatnam, and MSc in 1980, followed by PhD in 1983 in Pharmacology and Toxicology at University of British Columbia, Vancouver, BC, Canada. He started his career as a reader at UDCT, presently known as ICT, at Matunga, Mumbai. During the following 34 years till date, he held various positions in academia, such as reader in pharmacology at UDCT from 1984 to 1989, as a professor of pharmacology in Bombay College of Pharmacy from 1989 to 90, and the first ever director of BCP from 2004 to 2007. He also worked as director of St. Peter's Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences at Warangal and as an adjunct professor at the Acharya and B.M. Reddy College of Pharmacy, Bengaluru, India. He was the editor of Indian J-Pharm Sci, the scientific publication of IPA from 1996 to 2014. He guided 26 M-Pharms, 2 PhDs, published 25 papers and 20 abstracts, and delivered more than 150 invited lectures. Coming to his achievements, he received the Fellowship of IPA in 2000, Dr. B.N. Ghosh Memorial Oration Award of IPS in 2005, the Professor M.L. Khorana Memorial Lecture Award in 2009, the coveted Eminent Pharmacist Award of IPA in 2013, and the IPA President Special Oration Award in 2014. We are extremely honored to have such an amazing personality with us as a speaker. Sir, I kindly request you to take over the session.
Thank you, Likita.
You're welcome.
Good evening, dear friends. Today, I will be talking about how to build a resume. Can you? I would like to share my screen. Okay, I hope you all can see that. So the topic today is how to develop an effective curriculum vitae or resume or biodata, whatever is that. There is a specific purpose for preparing this presentation. I have already, on a couple of occasions, I gave it I presented this to particularly pharmacy students. There are a few things that I need you to understand here is that it doesn't tell you exactly what you should write in your CV, because each CV is highly individual. So there is no general information that people can write in their CV. But the presentation and I, through the presentation, I make an attempt to tell you there are certain precautions that need to be taken while preparing your curriculum vitae. Why so is what I will be discussing in the next 30, 40, I think 40 minutes. And then there is ample opportunity for you to ask questions. Now, the presentation would cover, the overview would be the purpose of CV. Then people come and ask me, sir, which format is the right format? I see about 100 different formats. So let us talk about which is the best format. Before that, we would also cover what is the different forms of CV, names of CV, etc. And we would also cover what should be in a CV and what level of care you need to take while preparing a CV. This is another very important aspect. Then the biggest question people probably won't realize is that the CV, which is a piece of paper, maybe 2 pages or 3 pages long, or a PDF or a Word document, does that really speak about you? Does that give messages to people who are reading that? Yes, it is. So I have to take you to that particular point. What kind of messages a CV actually delivers on your behalf? Then most important, and people do not pay attention, is how to name your CV file, because it is you, gone are the days that you are going to print a CV and hand it over as a physical copy. Usually, you would be sharing on email or WhatsApp or any other mode as a doc file. So there should be a name on it, and the file should be named accordingly. And I would be speaking a little bit about that because that's very important, you know. And believe me, when I speak on these aspects, I'm not theoretical, I'm not hypothetical. In my life, as a, in my career, not really life, career, working for almost 35, 40, 35 to 36 years in academia as well as in industry, I have had the opportunity of hiring several people for jobs, freshers, students, as well as experienced people. And I had an opportunity to read several CVs prepared by freshers with 1 year experience, 2 year experience, and many times highly experienced people. Some of the points that I would be mentioning today are actual my experiences when I dealt with those CVs. Okay. So that would help you to overcome, if at all there are problems which you do not actually perceive while preparing and sending a CV, but it is very clear to the other person who is receiving your CV. So this is very important. So I'll spend some time on that. So let's get on with the presentation. Moving on to the next slide, the purpose of a CV. What is the purpose of a CV? CV, let's look at CV as an instrument that reflects your core competences and attributes. Obviously, when I open a CV and then read, I must be looking at the personality behind that CV. So you have to prepare it that way. CV can be used as a tool that makes you noticeable. Here, I would pause and give you an example. Suppose a a graduating class, Master of Pharmacy students, or Pharm D students, or even B Pharm students, prepare CVs, let's say, and then send all those CVs. Let's, for that matter, say that the classmates, you have about 30 people in your class. So 30 CVs are sent. A person is looking at all the 30 CVs. Usually, what is the feeling that the person gets is that he is seeing 30 duplicates of same CV. The only difference is name of the individual, date of birth, and probably the mark or the rank. There won't be much of a difference because at that level, students think that no, I have to prepare the CV exactly as my classmate is preparing. I must use the same format as he is using. And so the CVs prepared that way become indistinguishable from each other. Okay. So the point here I'm trying to make that CV should be looked at as a tool that can make you noticeable. That purpose is already lost when you have a CV like that. Now look at this your CV as a document that helps you to get the attention of the right people at right places. So if I'm going through about 10, 15 CVs, a particular CV would draw my attention to say, oh my God, I mean, this is wonderful. I would like to see the candidate. That feeling should come. Okay. Now, the wow factor should be there in the CV. But let me tell you, I can only tell you that your CV must be highly noticeable among several CVs that a person receives. How you make that noticeable is your job. I cannot make it. I'm not a consultant that I can tell you how to write your CV to make it noticeable. That's a different job altogether. Here I'm trying to say that wow factor you have to build into your CV. So here the down below I also put this. Please avoid your CV to look like a photocopy of other CVs or a cut and paste job. This is essential. You have to make it. In my presentation, I also may draw from several examples that I have gone through. In one institution, we asked at a MFARM level, we asked all the students, exercise of building the CVs. So I said, see, this CV building is an experiment, and let you build that CV, and then let me look at that, and then get back to you about where the improvements can be made. It is done as a program. Okay. Believe me, I got the 60 MFARM students or 55 MFARM students, I don't remember the exact number at that time. They have given me exactly 60 look-alike pieces of paper. Okay. Now, when I gone through those documents very carefully, I can separate them into 2 or 3 bunches because some 10, 15 people followed a particular format and 10, 15 people or 20 people followed a different format. And at the end, maybe there were 3 different formats. The way of interpretation, the way they have written information about themselves, or all can be grouped into 10, 15 people wrote in one way, 10, 15 people wrote in a different way, 10, 15 people or the remaining people wrote in a third way. So, what is my take home at the end of that exercise is that's like an exercise for me that the students use 3 different formats available on net, and they have put their information in 3 or 4 different ways. Other than that, there is no difference between them. Okay. The only obvious difference is the name and the mark or the branch of MFORM they are doing and the research project title. That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you people that you should avoid that. You should avoid that by making your CV as an instrument that reflects your competences and attributes. It is You should use it as a tool that make you noticeable. At this particular point, students ask me the question, sir, what do you mean by that? We're all informed students. We are doing the same thing. We are working in the lab and our research is slightly different. So that's what the difference you will see. We all passed B form, so we have different percentages, and that's what you see. Our names are different, that's what you see. Our genders are different, that's what you see. What more you want to see in the CV? In fact, some students even asked me that. I told them that, look, you are an MPharm graduate or you are finishing your MPharm, so there would be a research topic, there would be a title, there would be a poster presentation, your name, your college, everything, that's all there. But is that you? That's all? There is nothing beyond that about you? You are all different. You all talk different. You all have different other capabilities. But your CV is not reflecting any one of them. Then that made them think, okay. And then they start coming up with what actually they have done or what they want to become. That is the differences that they have to put in the TV, in the CV. So let's go forward, and as I approach that area, I would talk about what should that be. Okay, if you have any doubts, please send questions that the moderator can collect the questions, and at the end, I would, as much as possible, I would answer those things. So one of the questions that people ask me is that, sir, what is curriculum vitae? What is biodata? What is resume? What is biography? What is profile? Now, if you see the screen carefully, I have also put these things. The curriculum vitae and resume are in italics, whereas the biodata, biography, and profile are in non-italics. If you carefully notice, that's what is there. You know why curriculum vitae and resume are in italics? Because they are not English words. It is very obvious, very common principle in the language is that if you borrow words of another language and incorporate them in a text, in order to make the reader understand that they are of a foreign language word, you put them in italics. Okay? That clearly tells that curriculum vitae is not English word, but we use that in English is a different story. We even shorten it and say CV. Okay. Now, what is the lesson that sends, that's actually sending you is that in your CV, don't use italics unnecessarily. Okay. To make it look elegant, some people would say something in italics, in some in bold, some in uppercase, some in lowercase. Why are you doing that? Is that, oh, that way the presentation would be fantastic. So I have these italics and bold italics, and I'm using a different font size, font shape. These are all polishings, that won't give elegance. But at the same time, sometimes they misled people because the meaning of italics is a little different. That's what I'm trying to put it here. You have to be absolutely perfect in the language that you use in your CV. Would anybody care to notice that? Yes, some people do. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Many people might not. Many people just look at that and say, oh, this CV looks good, and then put it aside. But some people who really care for the candidate that they are hiring, they read the CV and they look at these aspects to understand the personality behind the CV. So make your CV speak about the personality that is really behind the CV. Okay, that's the point I want to mention. Now, it is necessary to understand how different these different forms from each other. Uh, this is essential because of a simple reason. If people do care about curriculum vitae, biodata, and resume are different. If you present a document, probably that is a curriculum vitae, but if you tell them that I'm sending my resume, the other person, if he is a stickler, if he is really, really very, very fussy guy, he might say, or fussy person on the other side, he might say that, oh, this person said he will send me a CV, but he sent me a resume. So he doesn't know what's the difference between the CV and the resume. For those people who are sticklers like that, you need to understand it a little bit. But it's not very important because many of these words in the current this thing are used as synonyms. Okay. Now, somewhere I even put that. Where am I going? Okay, excuse me for that because the slide suddenly decided to move the way they want to move. Curriculum vitae is a Latin word meaning course of life. So, curriculum vitae is actually telling the course of your life. So, it's usually longer than a few pages containing candid professional experience and education. So, if I am sending somebody my 13-page of document, then it is a curriculum vitae. I'm talking about my education and my entire career life. Okay. So, sometimes if you say CV, um, then what you have is that just you have a little bit of education because you're still completing and not really anything about your career. Okay, that's what. So it is one page would be there. But for people, as your career is developing, then your pages gets added. Resume is a French word meaning summary. So you see, earlier curriculum vitae is course of life, while resume is summary. So it is summary of skills, education, skills, employment, and experience. So if you're sending your resume as a student, then you have only education and skills because employment and experience is not there yet. Okay, in a manner that in that manner, the document gets shortened. Biodata. Notice very carefully. The biodata also has your date of birth, your address, your marital status, and gender, personal information. So, in other words, in your curriculum vitae and resume, you need not put that information. Okay, whereas in biodata, you are already also giving information about your biographical information. So that comes there. This is the differences that it doesn't hurt to know the difference. In fact, it is advantageous to you if you know the difference. Now, what um, Lichter read about me in a short, we call that as a short biography. You know, it's a brief biography. It only talks about the entire thing that you have done in your life, but in short paragraphs. Maybe less than a page. So these are the differences. So most of the time, if you're sending a resume or a biodata, resume has education and skills. Biodata also has information about your date of birth, address, marital status, gender, etc. Or even some people would put their parents' name, etc. Probably that is necessary. But curriculum vitae is something that usually when you gain your experience, you will be preparing. So this is somewhat uh, the definitions that you need to know. Then always the question to me is from the students is, what is the best CV format? Here, if I use a word resume or CV or biodata, everything is synonymous because I'm not really going back to the definitions, but just referring to that document as CV. So you can either I use the word CV or resume, okay, from now onwards. Let me tell you, I have no idea. Any format is as good as the other. It really, the formats don't matter. One small example. When I was doing my PhD in the University of British Columbia, I one of the persons, like my professor, has hired a technician or an assistant. who types on electronic typewriter very well. So he said to all his PhD students, "Hey guys, when you finish off your writing your thesis, you pass on those, handwritten manuscripts to this lady, and she will type it for you." And I said, "Wow, that's wonderful. I was wondering how I can type all this because computers were not available those days. We haven't written anything on the computer at that time. Word doc, etc., are not known in 1983. Remember that." So she did a wonderful job typing my thesis, you know. Then she asked me a question one day. She said, "Rao, after your PhD, you would be looking for a job. Shall I type your CV?" I said, "Oh, I have to prepare a CV, and this lady is offering me to type." So then I scribbled something which I think is important to go into a CV, and then she put it a format and then typed it for me. Okay. So there's no type, no internet downloadable formats available at that time. Then the next time I went to Vancouver, you know, I asked the same lady, she was still working at that time, say that, but by that time the computer has come, so can you make it digital? Then she made digital and gave it to me. I still use that format, mind you. Okay. But that's what the point. Format is not important at one particular point. People only look at the content of the CV. Okay. So use any format that you like, on the net, um, whichever way. I don't really care, but let that format not have designs. It's not necessary. It's not a wedding card or it's not a birthday greeting. Elegance helps to quite an extent. The document when you open should be elegant, but content is the best decider. You know, in any type document, please remember, if you use the proper font and proper font size and then type it up very neatly, the document automatically looks elegant. Okay. When the uniformity in the format is lost and then you start doing certain things that makes the document not so elegant, remember that, when you print it out and then look at your document, it should strike to you as it's an elegant document. The elegant document catches eye, you know, but the real decider is the content inside that. Now, if you do not use any format and if you start from one end of the paper and by the time you came down, it is at the other end, you know, and then somewhere the font says 12, somewhere font says 14, somewhere it is uh, Times New Roman font, and somewhere it is Calibri, somewhere it is something else. Although you think that you have done a great job, the elegance is went for a toss because anything, if it is uniform, then it looks elegant. You know, just remember when you're looking at a parade, uh, Independence Day parade or Republic Day parade, what is the elegance that is brought in that parade? All the entire battalion, people who are moving, they're all uniform. They're all in the same uniform and they move uniformly. And that produces elegance. So similar type of elegance has to be there in your CV also. So try to make it elegant, but content is very important. Don't think that elegance can, you know, can make it noticeable and content is not important. Elegantly put content is very, very, very important. And remember, uniformity should be maintained throughout the CV. And this aspect is, I noticed, because as an editor, I also edit these manuscripts. And one of the biggest issues with manuscripts that people write, articles that they prepare, whether they are students or just graduates or even senior professors, one of the biggest issues is uniformity. In the document, as you move ahead, uniformity is lost. Somewhere you write something in one way and somewhere you write something in a different way. Okay. But try to make it uniform by paying great attention to your CV. That's very important. Okay. Uh, just a minute. I have to push these. Ah, yeah, I did that. Okay. Uniformity should be maintained. So, what is the bottom line here? The best CV format. You can use any format that you would like to, and preparation should be that CV when you prepare should be elegant, but uniform. But most importance should be given to the content. Next, what should be there in a CV? A resume. From here onward, the CV and resume are really used interchangeably. When you go back to the definition of each form, they do not help because you are right in the beginning. So you do not have a lot of information that can put in a CV or resume. So you really do not know whether you are preparing CV or you are preparing resume. But let me. A CV or resume should contain essential information that would adequately differentiate the candidate from others. The purpose of a CV is that when I read 10 CVs, I should be looking at 10 different personalities with 10 different 10 10 these personalities must have different attributes and different abilities and different capabilities. That's what should be reflected in my CV. Okay. Now, usually what happens when I see in a graduating class 10 CVs, they look identical. That's what told you. Just let us talk about from a cricket team. Okay. Now, this is an example of how you can make a CV differently. Now, take for example the Indian cricket team, T20. So you have 10 people, 11 people there. You prepare 11 CVs. And if all the 11 CVs come as that cricketer, national, represents nation, plays for one day international, plays for T20s, plays for test matches, and scored 1,000 runs, scored 2,000 runs, scored 3,000 runs, had taken wickets, blah, blah, blah. Would that differentiate each player? It doesn't really, but in your own mind, when you say that, you know, each player has a different attribute in the ground. He plays a different role altogether. So if you are preparing a CV for all those 12 people, I'll tell you, you would definitely show that each person is different in your own words because your perception of each of those persons is different. If you agree with me, then if 10 people in the class are preparing 10 CVs, all these 10 CVs should reflect the individuals in different perspectives. And what are those perspectives is known well to you, not to me. Why I use the cricket team, example is because we know their capabilities, because we have watched them, we have observed them, we have read about them. But here, the students have not been watched, have not been written about, or nobody knows them. So the better representative, the best representative of their capabilities should come from them only. That's why I'm trying to say that you have to try to make your CV look different by writing something about each one of you. Where does it start? You know, career objective statement. Each CV should have a career objective statement. Let's say when you start your CV, you write at least 25 to 30 words of a career objective. What exactly is the career objective? Don't copy the career objective from the other person. Oh, he wrote well, so I will also write the same thing. So that means your career objective is not your career objective, but it is other person's career objective. So you should have a career objective. That career objective starts showing individuality. So you have to write it differently. Okay. This statement should be different when the CV is sent to different places. Now, what does that mean? It's actually not for a beginner, but at a later point, when you are revising your CV with your experience, and then you have to write your career objective differently. Suppose after your M.Pharm, you are looking for a academic position, let's say. So you write a career objective that you want to excel in teaching and research and contribute to the growth of the institution that you are joining, you know, somewhat similar to that. Because you like teaching, you like research, and you are looking at your growth as a part of the institutional growth. Wonderful if you can write that. But after 2 years, you want to send this CV to an industry because you are looking for a pharmaceutical industry role. The career objective there should be altered. If you send the same thing, then the person would say that, but we don't teach and we don't do research here. That immediate reaction should not come from that person. But if that person, whoever is interviewing you, looked at your CV and gave that input immediately, what does that mean? How did he come up with that statement right in the beginning? Because your CV made him say that. So at times your CV directs what the responses of other people. So you have to be absolutely careful. And please consider that one size fits all concept is not good at all. One size should not fit all. It is different. It has to be cut differently for each job. It has to be stitched differently for each job. That's one. When your CV sent to different jobs should be made in differently with different career objectives. What I mean by that is that your CV should not look like a replica of your classmates or your close friends' CV, because it's strict no. That's what I'm trying to say. So therefore, you have to work on your CV to write to reflect your individuality in CVs, and that should come right from the career objective. What level of care while making a CV? In my opinion, dear friends, honestly, the CV, the preparation of CV, the care you must put into CV should be much more than the care that you take when you are writing an exam. Okay, while writing an exam, you can scribble, you can commit typographical errors, spelling mistakes, blah blah blah, whatever. But the CV is a document that reflects you. So a mistake in that reflects you. That's the first thing you must understand. So therefore, CV preparation should be done with utmost care. Avoid making any sort of mistakes in the CV. Now, many children, many students, young students, make mistakes because they don't know whether a word that they use is right or wrong. They have heard it being used, so they want to use it here. They sometimes do not know whether the spelling of that word is right or wrong. If there are words like adopt and adapt, which is the right word? They don't know. But if you want to use that, please go to dictionary. Please use all the web resources that are available to differentiate these two words. What exactly is the meaning of each word? If a word is there and it has a meaning, then if you don't know whether to like or whether you don't want to use that word many times, look at its synonyms. Sometimes the synonyms tell you what is the exact meaning of this word, because the synonyms contains a word that you have used earlier. You do whatever, but just make sure that there are no mistake in your CV. You know, and please avoid wrong usages in the CV. No typographical errors, no wrong words, no wrong usages, and avoid bad formatting of the CV. And there are certain statements which you should not make in the CV. I'll tell you those also. The mistakes. I will tell you from my own examples. What are these mistakes and how these impact the CV and the response of an individual after reading the CV. I was working for an American company. Somebody in America, I was working from Hyderabad, in an American company, and I was reporting to a guy sitting in America. And somebody in America, who is an Indian, who did a lot of great work, PhD, postdoc, blah, 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 he sent me a CV. And he said, can you recommend for any openings in the company in the US? And we are encouraged to do that because company always wants to hire best people. And if those best people references come from internally from the company, they love it. So I was encouraged to send any CVs I received to the headquarters just to ensure that, if it's a hireable candidate, they will hire the person. So this person's CV is in an area where my boss also works in the same area. So I thought I was excited and I saw all that and then sent the CV to him, to my boss, saying that, hey, his name is Tim. Hey, Tim, this looks wonderful. I think this guy has a lot of experience, and if you have a position, you should consider hiring for him. Considering him to hire for that position. Good. 2 days, 3 days, no response. I said, okay, maybe he forgot. And one day we were on telephone call, and I asked, what about that CV? Said, Rao, I rejected it. You rejected it. I mean, it's not good at all. Then he asked me, is he a friend of you? Then I said, not really a friend of me. Maybe an acquaintance. The guy doesn't even know how to write a CV. He made so many mistakes in the CV. I don't want to hire a bunch of mistakes. This was the response. Now you understand why you have to make your CV without any mistakes. Because I looked at the chemistry and I said, oh, this is good, And my boss looked at it and he saw how many mistakes this guy made while making his own CV. So that shows an attitude of an individual. So the CVs communicate attitude. So it's very important that you prepare your CV and you put a lot of care while preparing your CV. Does CV give messages? I just gave you examples of what kind of messages CVs give. Your CV speaks about you. There is no doubt about it. It gives information about several of your attributes without your intention and even without your knowledge. Meaning, you might think that you have not really thought that the CV would speak about this attitude or about this. It will tell the individual about a interviewer. The CV tells him about what do you care about your own CV. If I receive 10 CVs and all of them are exactly replicas of each other, excuse me, the message I get is that none of them really care to write a CV. They just thought, oh, it's another exercise, so let's copy from the others. So I don't want to depend on any one of them because they are not dependable. If I see 10 different CVs, each one has some amount of effort gone into that, then I consider that, yeah, each person is an individual. I would like to see all the 10 people and talk to them just to find out how good each of them are. So CVs tell about dependability. And if you write your CV in a manner that it attracts other person, talks about your writing skills. If you interpret some of your capabilities in words and sentences, it would also tell about your technical knowledge. if you ensure that there are no mistakes in that CV, and then make sure that the first slide of mine saying a foreign language word in italics because it is represented that way, if you go to that level of detail, then the CV communicates to the other person about the attention to detail you pay. And if you are writing about so many things from a current context, etc., then they will tells us about your awareness of uh, the current situation. Yeah. And sometimes, if you just don't care about that, and CV is a CV, one piece of paper, and then you make several mistakes, etc., then it also tells us the attitude that is the person is irresponsible, is not bothered about it, and he's not unreliable. He can make number of mistakes, and he or she doesn't even correct them. All that will talk about the attributes. So I do not know whether you have really realized that all these aspects can be read from that one single sheet or one or two different sheets. But here is a big question. I can also see from the perspective of the student. All this, what I talked about a CV is fine, but an M-Pharm student or a PharmD student or a B-Pharm graduate starts, or final year B-Pharm student starts to wonder, what is the thing that I can put in the CV? Okay, if suppose attending conferences is important, and then you put a list of conferences, and making a poster presentation is important, you put a list of posters that are presented. And if you won a competition, you put that you have been awarded something. You are only thinking up to that. But let me tell you, even that is not adequate in filling your CV. The reason is, if there is another classmate of yours who also attended the same conferences, who also got a best paper award, or who also did this, who also did that, then these are the two CVs look alike. But as individuals, you two are different. Okay, so how do you reflect that in your CV? This is the biggest challenge. I can try and answer this to you, but probably I can't make the answer applicable to everybody because the question remains as a question. You have completed your degree and you want to send for jobs, and then overnight you start thinking about your CV. Yeah, I'm trying to prepare my CV. Let me tell you my own example. My daughter, who is a B Farm, and then she did a PhD, and then she's looking for a job in the US. And I said, can I send your CV to a few people? Can you send me your CV? She said, "Oh, Dad, I have to write my CV." You know, so that means she also has not paid attention all these days. Then I simply say that, look, do it quickly and send that CV to me so that I can make comments on that. What needs to be written into the CV. There are certain very personal aspects of you which others do not know. If you love to do something, if you love to, sing, if you love to, dance, if you are very good at doing something which is not in the line of your coursework or the pharmaceutical sciences, you usually do not put that information in the CV because you say that it is irrelevant. But mind you, it is relevant. It is relevant because it speaks about your personality. It speaks about the seriousness with which you pursue something else. Okay. And I do not know what to put, so I'm not advising people to put I'm a dancer. I'm not saying that. But those people who have that special characteristic should put that in the CV. If they have gotten something, if they have done something in the house, they have managed a great event, or they they acted resourcefully during a crisis in the family. In a nice words, you can actually add that because it is a personal trait, an attribute of your personality that can come. but not going in a length of detail, but there should be one or two words there, you know. Now here, I skipped something in the previous slide, such as, you know, please avoid making hardworking and sincere type of phrases, you know. Okay, I'll come to that. While I'm talking about all these words, you know, things to you, that you should put something, the wow factor into the CV, other than your marks, other than your percentages, other than this, other than that, you know, your capabilities. Don't write I am a hardworking and sincere person. The reason why is your hardworking and sincere nature has to be evaluated and perceived by others, not by you. Okay. You cannot sell by saying that I'm hardworking. How do you know? How do I know that you are hardworking? If you state that, and next day I saw you working, and then you just put little effort and say that I'm hardworking, it doesn't make sense, right? Hardworking is hardworking. We all believe that anybody who sends a CV is a hardworking and a sincere guy. Okay, it is taken without, by default. You don't have to write that to perceive that. But if everybody writes, I'm hardworking, sincere, I'm hardworking, sincere, I'm hardworking, sincere, that doesn't look good. So that means you're not really defined the hardworking and sincere. The attributes that I am talking about here is dependable, writing skill, technical knowledge, attention to detail, has to be perceived by others. You don't have to write all these things, but your CV should reflect that. If you have taken pains to ensure that your CV doesn't have any mistake and it is perfect and it is a nice style, format in which it is written, it is elegant, it strikes me, then automatically I know that you are hardworking because you have worked hard at that CV, preparing that, relative to the other people who have just not paid much attention. That's how the attributes are reflected out of documents. So you don't really have to write those attributes as I am dependable guy, I am really fantastic. You will know that I'm such a hardworking person and I do anything for the job. These words should not be there. Okay. Now you try and find out what are your aspects that. So on the last day, if you sit and then you look at your CV and say that, what am I going to write about my CV? You may not even recall anything. So CV building is an exercise that you should take on from, let's say in second year, third year, you should start writing. The reason is, if you have done an event in the class, if you are, if you have done something which people have appreciated, either in the class or outside. If you have done social work and people have commended you, in your high school you have done something and for which people have commended you, such important information should be in the CV as other attributes, additional information about you, but in a brief way. That is how we differentiate. Suppose you're a great cricket player. I love cricket and I represented school, I represented college, and I played and we won a tournament. You know what that tells me is that apart from the studies, so you have a 85, 90%, and plus this, so you are able to do two things at a time. Okay. And not losing focus on both the things. That is what is important. That is the information that becomes very important. So when you write, but if you say that I attended a conference, I know how serious everybody is in the conference. So that doesn't really become an attribute. So that information would also be there. If 100 students have attended a conference, all 100 will write, I attended this conference. If 100 students presented a paper, all 100 students write that I presented a paper in that. So they become less significant in deciding your nature, your personal attributes, than some such information I have talked about where you made a significant contribution. That should be mentioned in very brief, with elegant language. Now we almost come to the end of the talk, nothing much more. One of the most important aspects is how you put the file name, update and archive your CV. You prepare your CV, first CV. Many a times it is given the file names that I have mentioned here, you know, cv.doc, resume.doc, or Bunty CV. You know, why Bunty? Because the person is called Bunty. So in his computer, he just put Bunty CV, you know, and they send it. And suppose I am at the other end receiving these CVs. I have 5 cv.docs, 5 resume.docs, one Bunty, one Pinky, and one something else, name. Now I downloaded all those CVs and then put them in a folder. Afterwards, nothing is known about those CVs to me. Whose cv.doc is this CV belongs to? Whose resume.doc is this belong to? Why students or why beginners name their CVs that way? Why for that matter even seniors? I have found that because in their filing system, in their computer, they have only one file called resume.doc. Okay, that is their resume. So whenever somebody asks, please send your resume, the resume is sent. But once it received the other end, it becomes one among several such resumes received. That's why my CVs are always put as Rao Vadlamudi CV April 2020.doc. Why that? Because that's my name and that is my CV and that is my the last version is April 2020. If I look at my previous version, I have a April 2019 also or June 2019 also because I keep updating it, adding new information, and every time I save the old as well as the new, but with this type of you know file name. For this, when people ask me, send your brief biography for you know for presenting or for introducing you, that is Rao Vadlamudi brief biography. CV is 13-page CV. That is just one page with a photograph. It's always necessary. So therefore, you have to really properly, save that file with the correct name. Your name as should be known in your document or as should be invited for an interview, not by nickname. So this is very important. I emphasize on this because even from very senior people, when they send me uninvited, they send me a CV and say that, sir, I sent my CV for any suitable positions that you may know, please send it. And I download the CV, I realize that the name is not there, it's just CV. Usually I don't even forward that CVs to anybody because I have to rename that. If I have to send it to, let's say, a company head, then I have to rename that as so and so CV because I'll be writing about that gentleman. I'm forwarding the CV of XYZ for your consideration. And what I send is CV.doc, then that fellow will also regard me as this fellow doesn't even know what he is sending. Please remember, that's very important. So please always send CV with a proper file name when sending by email, And the subject line should state my latest CV for your consideration or for your ready reference. This also should be there, Because the mails that are sent with CVs sometimes, again, please remember, this is a part of the CV, how to write CV, because how to write CV is not complete unless you close the file and give a name and how you send it. Many a times it so happens that parents call me and say that my daughter is there or my son is there or my cousin's son is there. They're looking for a job. Can you help? I'll ask them to send their CV. So I get a mail with the CV, Many a time there is no subject line. Many a time there is not even a message in that. Just simply a CV is forwarded. Once it so happened that a parent asked me and he sent a mail to me with a copy to his ward, his son or daughter, or nephew, let's say, his nephew or niece. Then requesting, Dr. Rao, as I indicated, I copied the mail to please consider for any positions that is a CV. I'm horrified because I got a forward from that mail from the ward with attached CV. Not even an address, not even a mail. You know what that means is that person is not interested. His parent is interested or his uncle is interested. So even that may, usually I don't take it anywhere. I just leave it there because I don't see any interest. Why would I forward something taking special care, special interest of a person who is not interested in that? So therefore, how much care you put to prepare your CV when you send your your CV to somebody, it should have the same care. So the subject line should state, and then in there should be a few words saying that, seeking a suitable opening in your organization, okay, that has a fit to my, you know, educational qualifications and capabilities, which are listed in the attached CV of mine. Please give it a due consideration, something like that. And then you attach a CV with your name and the date of the CV, then that mail and that CV would draw huge attention because the way the mail drafted, the way the CV was, uh, the file name of the CV and the way it was sent is obviously different from several other CVs that are sent just like that. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that every place, everywhere, you have to make a difference. If you are different from others, this is what is important. You have to make a difference. You have to demonstrate that you are different. You have to demonstrate that you are hireable, and for that, the document that you send is a CV. And for that, you have to make the CV in a manner that it reflects your seriousness, reflects your capabilities, and reflects your intentions. So as you get a job and you are looking at your CV, the moment you get a job, your CV changes because now you are employed. So you have to update or modify your CV, save with a file name and whatnot, and ensure that it is, when it reaches the other end, it is adequately identified. References in a CV. Sometimes people have to give 3 references. This is not the references that students talk about. We need a reference letter to find a job. That's different. Okay, let's not talk about these references in a CV. Why should there be 3 references? Because you are saying that these 3 people, if you want to contact them, they can give a reference check about my candidature, my capabilities, or they can vouch for whatever I have written in this CV. So obviously, the 3 references that you are going to quote there, you should talk to them. And who they should be known to you, they know you well, and they know your attributes. That's very important. And you must choose the referees in such a way that the person is one from your college. If you have done M.Pharm research, then one of them is your research supervisor who knows you best, and then another professor from your college with whom you have intimately or worked together on various projects, that the person can talk something special about you rather than just another classroom, because um, another person in the classroom. Because you see, there are something called uh, usually the students collect that. The name escapes me. It is a testimonial. Okay. Now, when colleges write testimonials, the testimonials are same for the each student, except the name is changed. That's all. Such testimonials are just don't have any value because everybody is good according to the testimonial, and then we know that everybody is not equally good. They are good, but some are better, some are a little less better. So your references are very important. And then maybe somebody in the society who is not connected with you, with your institution, but who knows you very well, should also be there. And these three references are listed. If you are an experienced person, then you would write in your CV saying that, you know, references will be provided on request. The reason is, when you are moving from one job to the other job, and the new person who is a new employer may want to do a reference check about you. So then he will ask you, can you provide me three references? But if you are a fresher, don't put that sentence saying that, references will be provided on request. No, you should have one or two references in your CV saying that, in case of any further information, these people can be can be contacted. That is the importance of the references in a CV. Just don't leave it abruptly with a signature, etc. It is always better to put at least two references. If a person is interested, they can call that references or send them a mail. So the references name, there should be an email and a phone number provided. That becomes important to complete the CV. Okay. So in a nutshell, that's what I want to talk to you about CVs. What I have achieved in doing so is I'm trying to tell you that how CVs should be prepared, what is the importance of CVs, and how CVs communicate about your or the person who has prepared the CVs at a length, at a great length. So therefore, it is important that you really prepare your CV involving yourself in that, and then try to make it in such a way that it speaks about you. That's most important. Now, probably we went a little over time, but it doesn't matter. I think we can, it's open for questions, so the moderator can take the questions now. Over to you, Likita.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your valuable presentation. It was really useful. So now let's make the platform open for discussion, sir. I would like to put forward some queries by students, including us. Are we ready to go, sir?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sir. So here goes the first question. Does attending various conferences like IPC and others are useful in adding weightage to our CV?
Uh, yeah, really, they add weightage in the sense that you mention several of those conferences that you have attended. Then the number of pages in your CV increases, so the weight. Attending a conference is okay. Let me put it this way. Little difficult to answer this question. If you have not attended any conferences, somebody would say that, oh, this person has not even attended a single conference. The CV, if it doesn't have. If you have attended many conferences, the person can say that, oh, they have attended many conferences. So you know what the students will do. We'll go there and then roam around and come back. Please take every comment of mine with the meaning behind it. So if you have attended IPC, Indian Pharmaceutical Congress, what exactly that is contributing to your attitude, your capability, that is important. So if you have presented a paper, mention that. I have presented a paper in Indian Pharmaceutical Congress. What that means is that your paper, your abstract has been scrutinized among various abstracts and is selected for a presentation. But if you present a poster in a college conference, sometimes the colleges also conduct national, international, and global conferences. So that's the name is not very important. But in your college, if your poster is automatically accepted. But in IPC, it's not automatically accepted. It goes through a particular, rigorous evaluation. That's what is important. Mere attending means what? Unless you have done something. Say, for example, if IPASF persons are there, they gone to IPC, they conducted a session, they organized, a symposium inviting 5 speakers or 3 speakers, and almost 4,000 or 3,000 students attended that, and the IPSF organizers who are involved in that should write that. We attended IPC, we organized the conference, we organized this, but not everyone. Those people who have really organized. So behind every one of these words, what is your contribution should be there. You know if you have attended, if you have a first prize or a second prize or some prize, that's important, because that's your contribution and the reward. So that's how it's important. So in the order you can put, IPC, obviously, if you have attended IPC, present the paper, it counts, it has more weightage than a local conference. But if you have done FIP or if you've done some other FAPA or some other international conference, it will have much more weightage.
Thank you, sir. And the next question, what are the sort of internships that can add weightage in our CV?
What sort of internships?
Yes, sir.
Any
What sort of,
internship, if a person has undergone any internship, seriously, that would add a lot of weightage, because that is something done in addition to your curriculum, in addition to your coursework, in addition to passing exams. So it will definitely have a lot of weightage. But simply by writing that I did an internship in an industry, or I did an internship in a hospital, or I did an internship in a community pharmacy, that itself, that there should also be one or two statements of what exactly gained during that internship. That's important.
okay, sir. And the next question, does having a graduation from NAC A plus university add weightage in our CV?
Probably yes, because if the college is very popular or the institution is very well known, then when we look at the CV, then we say that this fellow is from NIPA, or this fellow is from JSS, or this fellow is from St. Peter's, or this fellow is from Vishnu. I have to say that because I saw Ramesh's name there. Hi, Ramesh. So that's really important. But that weightage must be supported by your abilities, your capabilities. Okay. That would definitely attract. So you are called for an interview. But there, if a person from a mediocre, not so well known college does better than you, then this weightage doesn't help you at that time. But getting noticeable, yes. But what is that NAC A plus or something which you mentioned? Because I don't have any idea. What are the criteria under which these NAC A pluses are given? We are actually know the institutes by their track record, by looking at the track record of the institutes, how good they are, we know, you know, not the NAC A plus or NAC whatever, you know. Uh, Again, that becomes like an attribute. If there are 10 or 20 or 30 A plus institutions, what does that really mean? The students who passed out and who have contributed in various fields of pharmacy profession, they actually make the differentiation. At one time when I was hiring in industry, I always hired NIPER Mohali graduate students or people who passed with a master's or PhD with highest regard to them, because they are very knowledgeable, right? I don't know currently, because there are more NIPERs, and are all the NIPERs now equal? I don't know, you know. So because I haven't hired recently. So people who hire also know very well which institute they are. But students do get weightage for studying. Like Harvard graduates would get more weightage than some unknown college, you know.
Okay, thank you, sir. And the next question, how does the membership in various associations can give a credit point to us?
Somewhere in the presentation, I have mentioned awareness. Okay. It speaks about your awareness. If you are a member of organizations, Indian Pharmaceutical Association, if you are a member of Indian Pharmaceutical Graduates Association, or if you are a member of IPASF, you know, then we know that you are on a platform, you are a member of an organization which provides certain platforms, and you can use those platforms to become better, or you become more knowledgeable, or you become more aware of what is happening around. You know. So that definitely counts the number of associations and memberships. Okay. But if somebody has put memberships as 10 associations, then we know that this guy is just joining all the associations to increase the length, the weight of the CV, paper wise. So, uh, yes and no, sometimes they do carry weightage, sometimes probably they don't do carry any weightage, because people say, that, what is the importance of being that organization? The organization doesn't do anything. If that has a feeling of others, then that membership in the CV will not have any weightage. Is what I'm trying to say. Please remember, your CV is prepared and it is read by somebody, and what is that person's impressions on reading the CV? Okay, so just like it is your capabilities and your um, attributes, the person reading that CV also has certain capabilities and certain this thing. Suppose if it's an industry person who is reading yours and he doesn't know about IPA, then obviously that membership of IPA is not going to make any impact on that individual because of his lack of awareness. But usually, if the person is quite aware and he is also a very important person in IPA or any other professional organization, then they will know. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
And the next question, is a cover page necessary for a resume and a CV? If yes, how long the cover should be, and what are the points that should not be mentioned on a cover page?
Uh, I have to understand that in the proper perspective. You meant a cover note or a covering letter, because a CV may not have a cover page. It's not a book. You know, if a particular CV has been sent under a cover note, the cover note will say why the CV has been sent. Okay, and usually when you send the CVs by email, the email message itself can serve as a cover page or cover note. You can put that information there. And sometime back, I did say a few words in the presentation saying that when you are sending a mail to a person who, to your employer, okay, subject line, I should say that, you know, CV attached for your consideration, or, you know, um, seeking an opportunity in your organization, something like that subject line, that catches. And the cover note, respected so and so, I'm forwarding my CV for any openings that that match my, or that are a fit to my experience and to qualifications, which are listed in the attached CV for your ready reference and perusal. I really would seek, uh, you know, an opportunity like that. A few lines, and sometimes it is better to write your career objective in a brief in that cover note. Okay, why the cover note is, the CV is an attachment, and the person will have time to look at the cover note, but not really open the CV and read it. So if the cover note attracts a person, you know, then the CV would be stored or sent to the HR department. It's very important. So if you just write CV attached and send it, probably now CV deleted, uh, that kind of response. So therefore, a cover note has its own value, provided you can write a few lines to draw the attention of the employer or to your possible employer towards your CV. That's important.
And they also asked, how can we send a cover? Like, is it better sending electronically through email or submitting the hard copy, a cover letter?
Or in the current world, all by electronically. Okay, your physical copy is only when you are meeting a person in person to hand over. Okay. So if I were you, what I do is that I send my CV to everybody electronically. And suppose if I meet somebody and I have an introduction, I can speak to that person on a couple of occasions, couple of sentences, couple of minutes. Then if I get an opportunity, sir, I would be sending my CV to you, you know, then I send the CV. Or to HR departments, or to openings, everything, on web, there are many positions. If you go to industries, open positions open, sending it, or to consultants, all by um, electronic digital copies. But whenever I am going to a conference or I'm likely to meet somebody, I keep one or two copies of my current CV with me. So depending upon the situation and the person is really receptive, then I say that, uh, can I send my CV to you? Or if you wish, I have a physical copy, I can give it to you. You know. So remember, when you are drawing attention of an individual for sending a CV or giving the CV, first politely ask them, and if they say yes, then you give it. Don't thrust it on that person. Here is my CV, because they would leave it right there, and forget about it. So it is very important. But in a job hunt, you should also be sending to HR department. You should also be sending to consultants, because there are some, HR consultants whose job is to find suitable candidates for various openings. So everything has to go in physical copies. Electronically, because wherever you go for an interview, they have an access and they will print out and then keep it there for the interviewers to read it. They don't wait for the physical copy of yours. But always keep it with you, two or three physical copies of the current CV. It's always helpful.
Okay, sir. And the next question, what are the keywords and how to use them in a resume? What are the important keywords and how to use them in a resume?
I really don't know. It's not a manuscript that it's not a scientific paper that the keywords would help. In a search database search, the keywords would help. If the question is regarding what are the catchy words,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
uh, then as I said, don't be too flashy about those words, because sometimes what happens is when you try to be flashy, then you would use a wrong word, you know, and the wrong word, if you don't check, would convey a different meaning. Uh, so if you are when you are writing your key objective, I'm sorry, what do you call career objective, try to put it elegantly in simple language as possible. Don't just say that I am a highly dedicated pharmaceutical professional, because that means that you have a career as a pharmaceutical professional while you are a fresh graduate. A fresh graduate is not a dedicated pharmaceutical professional in that sense. Okay, a fresh graduate is a ambitious young pharmaceutical professional seeking an opening, you know, to contribute. But a dedicated, seasoned pharmaceutical professional has already contributed in several organizations. Sometimes, perhaps in some places, he has also been thrown out. But he would put elegantly that I am always the highly sought after. As a student, you should write maybe simpler sentences, not flashy sentences. This is what I really think. You don't have to be flamboyant. You don't have to be. There are so many words. some people would uh, try to say something which is hello.
Yes, sir.
No, I heard some noise somewhere, so I was wondering.
Yeah, sorry for the disturbance, sir. Please
No, no,
carry
that's okay. That's okay. Say for example, if someone wants to say that a grave situation like COVID, you know, one word to describe the gravity of the situation is enough. You don't have to use 100 different, unprecedented, grave, never seen before kind of thing. You don't have to say all that because people can perceive. You know, so that's why it is better to be very precise, very simple. You know, we should also realize that simple language has more elegance than flamboyant, complex language, which sometimes lose the elegance, in that. Verbose, don't have to be verbose. Superfluous, that's the word I was trying to say. You don't have to be superfluous. Yeah, okay.
Okay, sir. And the next question: how well does a CV stand up to scrutiny?
As well as it can be, depends upon how well it is prepared.
Okay.
These questions have some meaning in it. I do agree with that. But, remember, I have mentioned a few examples how CVs were
Yes.
turned down because there were mistakes, you know. And in fact, I have to give another example, which I thought I would give. We were one day conducting interviews for microbiology and biochemistry candidates, MSc Life Sciences, because the positions in industry they sort out, they look for capabilities in microbiology and biochemistry. You know, we actually refused or um, rejected all CVs which had MSc biochemistry written as bio and chemistry, okay, and micro and biology. Many of you might not understand what I'm trying to say. Biochemistry and microbiology are two single words, but in the CV, the persons wrote, "I completed a MSc biochemistry, BIO space chemistry." What does that really mean is that conveys a message that they don't even know how to write biochemistry. The people do not know how to write microbiology. How can they be microbiologists? CVs go to that extent of scrutiny if you really care. You know, if people write, "I did my MPharm in ecology," I will not consider that CV. Okay. If somebody else may consider, because ecology is not pharmacology. It is only perceived by our students, our teachers, that it is ecology, but nowhere it is a synonym or it's a short form for pharmacology. In fact, if you look at journals, it is pharmacol is a short word for pharmacology, not ecology. So if there are strictlers, they can even scrutinize your CV to that extent. So I think somewhere in my presentation I said don't use abbreviations and slang, laboratory slang words. Cognosy, ecology. These are nowhere known words, accepted words. So they should not. They have no business to come into your CVs. That is where I'm trying to say that the CVs would stand scrutiny. Really, somewhere that becomes a filtering point. So why do you want to suffer getting filtered because of those, I would say, unforced errors? You did not want to commit a mistake, but you committed that. You know, that's where you have to be very careful. I hope this example uh, helps the person who asked the question, understand the gravity and the weightage with
Yes.
which you have to prepare your CV, because it has to undergo scrutiny and it should withstand that scrutiny.
Yes. And with the next question: how do we highlight very important achievements in a resume?
Yeah, whatever achievement should be there should be written.
Yes.
What is meant by highlighting is not, I'm not able to understand. Please don't highlight it with the color, a bold face, or a different font, different font size, different font type. That's not
No,
important.
no, sir. I guess they
But
meant how to
yeah,
express, like how to
yeah,
write.
as short as possible.
Okay,
If
sir.
you write under your additional qualifications, additional attributes, you should write a sentence in which it immediately draws attention. Okay. Again, another example I can give you.
Yes.
When a particular person wrote somewhere saying that, additional qualifications are there. There is a term, they put it under that heading. That a person wrote, "I am a dedicated classical dancer who has won competitions," something like that. It drew my attention, and then immediately we started asking her questions, you know, about that. And then we suddenly realized that that person pursued that while doing B form and completing M form, but excelled in that also. Okay. Meaning that the person can effectively do two jobs at one time without losing emphasis on either of them and excel in both. And that type of people are more wanted in the industry or any job, for that matter, even academics. If I'm hiring for academics, I will take people like that. Somebody may even disqualify saying that, "Arey, to dance ke upar, she went on that and she didn't." That is a negative attitude. I can't talk about people who look in a CV what that person is not. I always look in a CV what that person is really is, over and above what the CV is telling. So even reading CVs and understanding people is also very important attribute for employers, HR and those people. But here I'm really saying, as a student, as a person who is seeking an opportunity, you must make genuine attempts, efforts to make your CV speak 100% about you. You know, if the other person is blind to it, so be it. But somebody else will notice it. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, you have to be good, and you have to make genuine effort, genuine attempts to represent yourself well in the CV. You know. I hope that highlighting part I have answered,
Yes.
because not very clear whether I'm answering to the individual's actual question.
Okay. So here's the next question, sir. Is it better to position yourself as a generalist or specialist on your resume?
It depends upon whether you are a generalist or you are a specialist.
Okay, sir. So we can specify it, no, sir? If we are a generalist, we will mention it as generalist.
Generalist means lack of any speciality. Okay. So what is meant by generalist? I don't know. Or do you mean journalist? let
Generalists,
uh,
not
gen,
general.
yeah, please let me tell you. What happens is, if I'm a pharmacologist, then I will write that I have specialized in pharmacology, but my CV and my experiences, my publications, my degree, everything is going to tell me about pharmacology, right? But if I'm applying for a job other than a pharmacology, then how would I make my CV acceptable to them? You know, because they can simply say that, "Oh, he's another pharmacologist," and throw the CV out. That is when I titrate my CV in a way that, apart from that, what are all other accomplishments I have, other attributes that I have that makes me suitable for this job. Okay. But right in the beginning, if people ask whether I'm a generalist or I'm a specialist, I do not know. If you are a M.Pharm pharmaceutical chemistry, you should write M.Pharm pharmaceutical chemistry. But if you have other capabilities, you also list them under that. So some of these questions may not be relevant at the stage where the student is in, but something is more relevant at a different stage, because uh, let's say all my introductions, there is one statement which nobody nowhere in my introduction it is, because I have been a trained executive. I got myself trained in general management in IIM Bangalore in an executive development program. Okay. My CV doesn't show any of those things because that is irrelevant to when I'm being introduced to academic audiences. It is irrelevant. What difference does it make if I have a general management, diploma or not? But if I'm applying for a job where the job profile is going to be general management handling various aspects or at a leadership position, then I propose that in my CV that I have this training. Right? But if it's not, then I'm not going to show that. You know, so in a conference, introductions, etc., it is unnecessary. This is how we will. But for me, it is easy to speak because I'm talking with 35 or 40 years of experience with so much to write in CVs. I know as a beginner, you have a lot of confusion. Okay. But a true CV is a true representation of you at this point, because at this particular point, your CV or resume is just one page or 1.5 page, and you can't write beyond that. If you have matter to write beyond that, congratulations. That means you really have lots to represent there.
Thank
Yep.
you, sir. And the next question: which resume format is best to use? Chronological, functional, mixed, or CV?
I, um, Again, that is more relevant for people who have a lot of experience. If I have 100 publications, whether I should put chronologically or the latest publication first and go down. Um, I think the best format is when you are listing your educational qualification, don't start with your 10th class, but start with what is the latest degree that you have obtained. So you are an M.Pharm or a Pharm D, that. And below that comes whether you are a B Pharm and then maybe a high school, but it's irrelevant at that particular point. That's the chronology that we're talking about in going down, descending order. Okay. And mixed, you know, there is nothing called mixed, whether you want your academic qualifications or education first or your attributes next, your experiences first or education first. When you have all those things, I have seen two different formats. Some people will start with their education and then talk about their experiences, you know working, academic, and all those things. Now, when I look at my CV, I started with like 1973, or 1969. That's how it started. It builds up to current today, in that 13-page CV. Somebody says that, you should write the other way around, what you have done currently, and then come back down, just like in LinkedIn. Okay, fine. I have that format also. But at this particular point, it doesn't matter to me. I don't really send my CV to anybody. But what I'm trying to say is that currently, your CV would draw your attention more what you are currently, and then what you were a few years back, and what you were, you know, even before that. And since you are seeking your first job, most important aspect is your education. So it comes education followed by the experiences that you gained during that education, you know, whether it is through research or whether it is through organizing events or whether it is through other, extramural activities, other capabilities, etc. You know, I think that would be a better format.
Yes.
That's my personal feeling. But the other way around also doesn't matter, because, as I'm saying, 1.5 page to 2 pages, it doesn't matter. But don't mix them up. You write M form and then afterwards you write something and then you go back to B form, and then don't write like that. It should follow a order, whichever order that is.
Okay, sir. And the next question. In generally, not everyone has achievements, projects, and tasks with certainty. So, sir, can you suggest some ideas to make those people's CV look well managed but with true details?
Each person should reflect what that person has done. So if a person has completed B form and M form, that detail would be there. Then what other work I have done, that he has done or she has done. Up to this particular point, it is going to be exactly similar to the other people, other classmates. But some of the classmates have certain other attributes, and a few individuals might not have any. You know, those people who did not have any should not have any, written up there, unless they can think of what they have done. But any person need not concoct a story to write there, you know, because that would not stand scrutiny. If suppose in a class uh, there are 5 or 6 CVs selected um, for interview for placement cell, and then everybody is asking. Suppose I am one of the candidates and I don't have anything. Okay, I only wrote about my percentage, rank, and this and that, and not beyond. Suppose if a question was asked to me saying that, oh, but your classmate, that fellow is a cricket player, this fellow is a dancer, this person has written, that person has managed a newsletter in the college. What have you done? I would very humbly say that, sir, I have not done any of those things. Okay, I have only focused on my education. Is that a negative point? At that particular point, I regard that as the person's honesty reflects. So when he is not somebody, he said honestly, I am not somebody to state that. Because sometimes a very good, you know, attitude of an individual is being honest, because that would ultimately make that person strong ethically. So please don't imagine that, oh, I don't have something to write here. Whatever you have. But beyond this, I cannot answer, because every individual has something special. To advise that person, I have to talk to him. I have to know more about him or more about her, such that if I can suggest maybe 1 or 2 sentences extra to be put in there, you know, but that I can do only after uh, talking to that individual, because it's not, oh, you should invent this, you should invent that and put it. No, I will not say that. Okay. So there is, if some people do not have that, so be it. Honestly speaking, when I was in the same position at M Farm, I did not have anything to write in addition to my M Farm, B Farm, marks, blah, blah, blah. You know, please understand. So I come from that type of background.
Okay, sir. So here we go with the last question, sir. How
Why
important?
that, is that last question, or you are cutting the questions now?
No, sir, nothing such. It's the last question, sir.
Oh, only few questions then. I'm disappointed. Okay, fine. No problem. Go ahead.
How important is it to include the online certifications and webinars we have attended?
This question today you are asking because you have undergone a lot of webinars, because those webinars are available. Last year at the same stage, would you have asked this question?
Sir?
Last year at the around the same stage, and that means in last May, people would not have said that, how important is that I have undergone webinars, taken it. What I'm trying to say is, it's a current context. In the current context, if you have really done attending these webinars and gaining information, that should be reflected. Okay, I have gone through these webinars. If you have undergone if you have attended or registered and attended about 10 webinars, let's say, don't put all the 10. If you think that there are two or three very significant ones that are current in the current context is very important, don't put a webinar of how to effectively build your resume, as in the resume, please. That's not important. But if you had attended a webinar about, what are the current treatments for COVID-19, or at what stage the vaccine development is there, that becomes more important, because that is a webinar that helps you to perceive what is the current state of affairs or status of the treatment of you know, a disease which is threatening the entire world. That becomes more important. So like this, you have to choose which is the most important, from which you have gained maximum, and which can impact your CV. These are 3 points you have to, um, evaluate before listing them in your, if you have taken an online course and then you are certified, it's a qualification. So you must mention that. Okay.
Okay, sir. So that's it. So we are done with the questions. Thank you so much for all your valuable suggestions, sir.
Some Karthik Paul has raised his hand about a question or something.
I'm checking it. Do I need to build
Hello,
my resume in a simple way using MS Word, or can I use online resume builder to generate my resume which will look delightful? This is his question.
Okay. If you can, in a simple way, if you can use MS Word and make a beautiful document, it has more weightage, in my perspective, than downloading a very delightful, beautifully crafted resume format, that speaks about your ability automatically. If you have used the internet format, then everybody knows, oh, he used that format. So that means there is no effort was put. Although an effort has been put to search the internet formats to find out what it is, which one is great. But if you have created a, an elegant looking document all by yourself in MS Word, then that speaks about your capability. Because some people write letters, but then they format it in such a way that the letter looks shabby. Some people write simple letters, but the formatting is so well that it draws attention. So that's the advantage of building and preparing your own, my friend, rather than downloading something from this thing. But I said that all formats are good. If you use it, but if you can build one, nothing like it.
So we got one more question, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening, sir. This is Raja. If we are coordinators for workshops and workshop is appreciated by all delegates and our interactions with great personalities or faculties, different colleges during conference time, sir, for all these kind of activities, in which category we should include in our CV, sir?
This is your additional capabilities. I don't know whether there is any uh, uh, heading for that, but you can always say that under professional activities you can write. But remember, I'll tell you something. If you have organized or participated in a conference as an organizer, as a volunteer, and then you did great service while learning a lot of things, and then you have impressed upon some great personalities, you spend some time with them, you should also ask them to just send you a line or two about uh, how they feel about you. Ask them to send by email or WhatsApp or whatever, and you could incorporate that in your CV, to emphasize on the point. Okay. But when you do that, please do it very judiciously, and it should be maybe for one or two, but it should not be like a stream of things coming. She's great and wonderful. This person has done great job from 20 people. No, that's not the one. But let me tell you, if you have organized an event or you participated organizing an event, you are resourceful and you have managed several activities simultaneously. These are all attributes that tell about your capabilities of a person who is accomplishing tasks. That's very important. Just don't consider that accomplishing a task in the job in a lab or in a QC lab or in a QA setting or in a manufacturing area itself is important. But to be able to do that, if you had already accomplished something in a situation similar to that of an industry, because usually a conference is like a big industry, and there are so many uncertainties, and you have come up with resourcefulness, you should reflect that. But again, as I said, it should be as brief. Brevity is important. Brevity means it is brief but fully describes. And in that manner, if there is a sentence of appreciation from a great personality, you should put it as, quote unquote marks, I received this. There's nothing wrong in impressing people with that, because that's actually you are that. You're not cooking that up. That's why you have to really write your um, CV with all dedication and honesty. And if that is the information you have, you should put it in.
Okay, sir. So that's it with the questions. So it's time we conclude the session, sir. So
Thank
I
you very much for patiently listening to me, and it's been a great opportunity to address so many people for me without seeing them.
even we are privileged to be a part of your session, sir. You cleared a lot of dilemma from most of us. Really, thanks a lot, sir.
Yep, it's my pleasure.
And next, I would like to thank our proponent, our mentor, and our guide, Dr. T.V. Narayan, sir, for his immense support and since the start. Thank you, sir. And I would like to thank all the principals for attending this session. Really, thank you so much, sir. And next, I would like to thank my team IPSF for all the hard work. This would not be possible without our teamwork. So, thank you, team. So, lastly, I would like to thank our dear audience for attending this webinar. Hope you all liked it. So, stay tuned till tomorrow because we are coming up with one more exciting session on community pharmacy advancing role in patient care by Mrs. Manjari Gharat at 4:30 p.m. So, please do follow our official handles on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I'm reading some